Hello, Namaskar. This is Firstpost and you're watching Vantage with me, Palki Sharma. Day 13 of the war in West Asia, Iran has struck energy sites, fuel tanks are ablaze and the shockwaves are spreading through global markets. The missiles and airstrikes still continue to kill people, but now energy shipping and supply chains have also become casualties. In India, cooking gas supplies are under strain and investors have lost more than $200 billion in Indian markets. Meanwhile, Dubai continues to be in the line of fire. Buildings have been hit, banks are moving money out. The damage will be more than physical and financial. On social media, it's the propaganda war. AI has turbocharged the fake news factories. Also tonight, where is Mujtaba Khamenei? Is he injured or is he in hiding? US intelligence admits what Donald Trump won't tell you. The Iranian regime is still intact, so what exactly has this war achieved? Is Iran using China's navigation system to guide its strikes? And why Pakistan and Afghanistan are clashing again? All this and more lined up. The headlines first. The Narendra Modi government calls out Pakistan over the India-Canada nuclear cooperation agreement. India highlighted its commitment to non-proliferation, calling Islamabad's concerns over the uranium supply deal ludicrous. The government said this was nothing but an attempt by Pakistan to distract from its own abysmal record. Nepal's Rashtriya Swatantra Party wins a majority in parliament, declares the election commission. This is rapper-turned-politician Balendra Shah's centrist party. Shah is expected to be sworn in as Prime Minister within the next few days. Libya's Prime Minister reshuffles his UN-backed government as he looks to overcome regional differences. The North African country has two governments, the UN-recognized administration in Tripoli and a rival government in Benghazi. Libya has struggled to regain stability since the fall of the Muammar Gaddafi regime in 2011. Lufthansa cancels half of its flights as pilots from the German airline begin a two-day strike. This is the second walkout within a month. The pilots' union is against a new pension model, which they say risks leaving staff worse off in retirement. And a passenger train from China arrives in North Korea's Pyongyang after a 6-year hiatus. The service was suspended during the COVID pandemic. China is North Korea's largest trading partner and a vital source of support for the isolated nuclear state.
We've won. Let me say we've won.
The war in West Asia continues. The tempo may have dropped, but the fallout, it continues to expand. Iran is hitting energy targets across the Gulf. Meanwhile, Israel and the US continue to strike Iranian military sites. We'll start with the Iranian attacks. Two major facilities were hit overnight. First was a fuel tank in Bahrain. It is located northeast of the Bahraini capital, Manama. The second was a fuel storage tank in Oman. Both sites triggered a massive fireball over the Gulf. But interestingly, Iran has denied hitting Oman. They say they are probing this attack. Take a look. There are two objectives here. One is to hamper the energy supply lines. The second is psychological. Just look at those massive fireballs erupting into the air. That's what drives up the energy prices. That's what spooks investors overnight. And that is what Iran wants. It wants the maximum shock value for its attacks. Meanwhile, the strikes on Israel are also increasing. Both northern and central Israel were hit. In the north, it was a combination of Hezbollah rockets and Iranian drones. Israeli air defenses were pushed into action, but several projectiles managed to sneak through. Central Israel was also hit hard. This was the 40th wave of Iranian missile launches. Some of them slammed into houses in Israel. Yesterday, we told you about the damages in Iran. Now look at the damages in Israel. Here, the government compensates citizens for war damages. But for that, you have to file a claim first. In 11 days, more than 9,100 claims have been filed in Israel. Out of these, around 6,500 are for building damages, around 1,000 for equipment damages, and nearly 1,500 for vehicle damages. Now, to put this in perspective, in last year's war, around 53,000 claims had been filed. That's 53,000 claims in 12 days of fighting. Of course, this time, Iran is attacking other Gulf countries as well, so the damage on Israel alone is less. Now let's also look at the other side, the one that Israel is firing at. Remember, Israel is fighting on two fronts here. It is striking Iran and it's striking Lebanon. In Iran, Israel continues to target launchers and missiles, and in Lebanon, it is expanding operations. Overnight, more strikes were carried out in Beirut. The casualties are mounting. More than 630 people have been killed in Lebanon, plus more than 800,000 have been displaced. 8 lakh people have been displaced. Most of these people lived in southern Lebanon. But Israel is now deploying soldiers in this region. They're taking over Lebanese land to set up a buffer zone.
The Prime Minister and I instructed the IDF to prepare to expand IDF activity in Lebanon and to restore calm and security to the northern communities. We promise quietness and security to the northern communities, and that is exactly what we will do.
So the Lebanon front is expanding. Still, the primary focus remains on the Iranian regime. Today, Israel hit a military facility in Talegan. It's located around 30 kilometers southeast of Tehran. Israel says this site was being used to make a nuclear weapon, and today they blew it up. Meanwhile, the Americans are still taking out more targets. They are hitting Iranian planes, vessels, and missiles. Yesterday, Donald Trump said the war would end soon. He said there are practically no more targets to hit. Well, clearly, that's not the case. Iran continues to lob missiles and drones at neighboring countries, meaning they do retain some of their military capabilities. And in the middle of all these attacks and counterattacks, is anyone talking about peace? About talks to end this war? Certainly not the new supreme leader of Iran, Mujtaba Khamenei. He broke his silence earlier today. He did not appear on camera. Instead, his statement was read out by the state media. Mujtaba says only limited vengeance has been extracted from Israel and the US. The war will continue until full vengeance is extracted. He also confirmed that the Strait of Hormuz will remain shut. Basically, it was a message of defiance and anger from the new supreme leader of Iran. Meanwhile, Iran's president detailed the regime's position. That's Masoud Pezeshkian. He has posted a crucial message. He has set 3 terms to end the war. 1, Iran's legitimate rights must be respected. I presume that means their right to enrich uranium and build missiles. Condition number 2, they want reparations, basically payment for war damages. And number 3, guarantees against future aggression. This is the first time any Iranian leader has talked about diplomacy. Having said that, there are concerns. Iran's regime is now dominated by hardliners. It's not clear how much influence President Pezeshkian has. He's a minority moderate voice. Plus, some of these claims are unacceptable to the Americans. President Trump was talking about total surrender, but these terms are quite the opposite. So chances are this proposal will not be accepted. Nonetheless, it is a starting point. It reveals the thinking inside the Iranian regime. Such maximalist demands suggest that the regime is confident. They feel they can dictate terms. Israel and the US will be hoping to shake that confidence to weaken the Iranian regime's position. Whether that happens or not is the big question. This war is happening 3,000 kilometers from India's border, but this week it has entered Indian kitchens. There is a shortage of cooking gas. In India, most households rely on gas for cooking. They use it in 2 forms, LPG and PNG. LPG is liquefied petroleum gas. It arrives in a cylinder. The standard size is 14.2 kilograms. It sits in a corner of your kitchen connected to the stove. When it runs out, you replace the cylinder. The second option is PNG, piped natural gas. As the name suggests, it comes through a pipeline, no cylinder required. It connects a pipe directly to your kitchen. Now, this network, the PNG network, is expanding, but largely in Indian cities. PNG remains limited to urban India, and its supply is more or less uninterrupted. So if you have piped gas in your kitchen, you have little to worry about. The problem is, most households do not have piped gas. They rely on LPG cylinders, and those cylinders are hard to come by. More than 300 million households in India depend on LPG. More than 90% of the restaurants in India also depend on LPG, and they are reporting a supply squeeze, especially restaurants, canteens, and hotels. Their menus are getting shorter. Hot meals are being replaced with snacks and fast food. In some cases, even a cup of tea has become harder to serve. Some restaurants are offering lemon water instead. Basically, they're going for options that use less fuel. Cooks are rationing their cooking gas. Some establishments have temporarily shut their kitchens. And that creates a series of challenges. Millions of jobs could be at risk. India's restaurant industry is worth 6.6 lakh crore rupees. That's more than $70 billion. This industry employs more than 8 million people. Even a single day of disruption can prove costly for this industry. Going by one estimate, restaurants could suffer losses of 1,200 to 1,300 crore rupees per day. That's more than $100 million. If restaurants and hotels take a hit, the impact will travel across the entire ecosystem, from chefs and waiters to delivery partners working with food apps. They'll all be hit. Plus, there's another side to the story. Restaurants are not just places of recreation. For many people, they're a daily source of food, especially in urban India, where ordering is no longer a luxury, it is part of everyday life. So this disruption is more wide-ranging than it appears. The question is, what caused it? Gas supplies are not reaching Indian shores. That is the problem. That's because of the Strait of Hormuz. It's shut. Hundreds of ships are stranded in these waters. Iran has imposed a blockade. It is blowing up ships that try to pass the strait. This has hit oil supplies all over the world. But for India, cooking gas is the bigger vulnerability. You see, roughly 60% of the LPG used by India is imported. And about 90% of this supply comes from this strait, the Strait of Hormuz. 90% of India's supply comes through the Strait of Hormuz. If there is a shortage of crude, India can still manage it. It can tap alternative sources like Russia. But when it comes to cooking gas, there are fewer choices. India completely depends on the West Asian supply. So the government is rushing to plug the gaps. Earlier this week, instructions were issued. Refineries were asked to maximize output of cooking gas for households. That order lifted domestic production by 25%. It increased domestic production by 25%. Supplies to homes, hospitals and educational institutions are being prioritized. Today, Union Minister Hardeep Singh Puri gave a statement in Parliament. He is India's Minister for Petroleum and Natural Gas. He said alternative supplies are being secured.
The world has not faced a moment like this in modern energy history. It should be noted that India was previously importing approximately 60% of the LPG requirements from Gulf countries such as Qatar, UAE, Saudi Arabia and Kuwait, and 40% is produced domestically. Procurement has now been actively diversified, with cargoes being secured from the United States, Norway, Canada, Algeria and Russia.
Now, Norway and the US are viable alternatives. They're far away from the conflict zone, and at the current market prices, they're also economically viable. The problem is they're far away from India too. And shipments from such distances take longer to arrive, which means India may face a supply gap in the interim. In the meantime, Indians are adapting. Reports say there is a surge in sales of electric cookers and induction cooktops. Some retailers say they're running out of stock. So those who can are going for alternatives. But not everyone can switch. For a canteen feeding hundreds of workers, for a small eatery in remote India, changing cooking fuel is not as easy. In the short term, the government will have to find a way to cushion them from the shock. In the long term, India will have to diversify supplies to avoid a situation like this. Let's turn to Dubai now. For years, it was an oasis in the Gulf. Gleaming towers rising from deserts, millionaire residences on artificial islands, and tourists drowning in technology and commerce. But Today, Dubai is almost like a war zone. Overnight, Iran launched more drones and missiles at Dubai. Some of the drones smashed into a high-rise building. You could see explosions and smoke over the famous skyline. Dubai roads are known for supercars. You see Ferraris and Lamborghinis at every corner. But now you'll also see massive chunks of drone debris. The UAE has borne the brunt of Iran's attacks. Let me show you the data. More than 268 ballistic missiles, around 15 cruise missiles, and more than 1,500 drones. That's how much the UAE has been peppered. Many of these attacks have targeted civilian sites too, like hotels and airports. And Iran's next target is financial institutions, basically your banks. Earlier this week, Israel had hit multiple banks across Iran. So the regime is responding in kind, the Iranian regime. They're doing the same thing. Their plan is to hit bank offices across the Gulf. And for Dubai, this is bad news. For years, international banks have put their regional headquarters in Dubai. As you know, the Gulf region does billions of dollars in business and trade, so it's a hotspot for multinational banks. But now these banks are pulling back. Citibank has asked its employees to evacuate their Dubai office. They've been asked to work from home. Standard Chartered is doing the same. They've asked their employees to avoid the Dubai offices. In neighboring Doha too, similar orders have been issued. HSBC has shut down its branches in Doha. They will remain closed until further notice. And this is a big blow for Dubai. The Dubai Financial Center is the heart of Gulf finances. You've got 290 banks there, 290 banks, plus 102 hedge funds and 500 wealth management firms. We're talking about a massive money spinner. For now, these companies are only ordering temporary closures. But after the war, what if they shift out of Dubai? That's the big worry. Unlike other Emirates, Dubai does not have oil. Their money comes from other sources. We have the breakup for you. Finance makes up 12% of Dubai's GDP. Construction makes up more than 6%. Real estate makes up 8%. Tourism makes up another 12%. Trade makes up close to 26%. But oil makes up just 2% of Dubai's GDP. And this was a conscious shift. Dubai offered stability and consumerism. Rich people could buy premium residences and live without taxes. Companies could capitalize on the trade boom. Tourists could marvel at the massive malls and science centers. But now all of that is at stake. Thousands of ultra-rich residents have fled Dubai. What remains is largely the migrant labor. Millions of workers from India, Nepal, Pakistan, and so on. They drove cabs in Dubai. They delivered groceries. They built towers. But now they have no means to leave the city. Which brings us to the big question. Can Dubai revive itself? The short answer is nobody knows. That's the short and the honest answer. If this war escalates further, all bets are off. Missile hits can cause massive damage to the infrastructure. It could take years to recover from that, especially if the migrant workforce starts leaving. Same with the ultra-rich residents. These are people with multiple houses across the world. Will they return to Dubai? Or will they choose more secure locations? A lot could depend on how this war ends. Iran has created a new normal by attacking the Gulf. If they can do it once, they can do it again. Which is why the end of this war is so important. If there is a permanent peace deal, Dubai can slowly rebuild. But if there is a fragile truce, like the one we saw last June, then rebuilding will be hard. Either way, one thing is clear. This war has disrupted calculations across the region. Most Gulf countries looked at Dubai as the ideal post-oil model. You look at Doha or Jeddah or Riyadh, the plan was to replicate Dubai's success. But if Dubai itself does not succeed, what's the plan B? How are you following this war? The good answer would be through trusted news sources. But the honest answer would be through social media. There is no denying it. Everyone consumes news on social media. The problem is it's often fake. It shows you missiles raining down on cities, airports in chaos, US soldiers captured by enemy troops, and famous landmarks going up in flames. Now, fake news in wars was always a problem, but now it has been magnified thanks to artificial intelligence. AI-generated war videos have become the new normal. So once again tonight, we are debunking them. We are telling you what's real and what's not. Video number 1 shows a building in Dubai on fire. Take a look.
It's burning, look at it. The smoke. Oh, it's getting worse. Everyone's running. Jesus.
As you just saw, it was a raging inferno. People running towards it. The building is obviously the iconic Burj Khalifa, and it's also obviously not real. This did not happen. Dubai's Burj Khalifa is absolutely fine. It did not come under attack. This video was generated by artificial intelligence, and there are many such on the internet. I'll show you another one. It shows Iranian soldiers being killed in a blast. Take a look. So they are in an office-like setting and suddenly there's a blast. But look closely and here's what you will see. This is not one continuous clip. There are 4 to 5 clips stitched together, and out of these only one is real. But this too, the real one, is also from last year, from the 12-day war that Iran and Israel fought in June last year. All other clips are fake. But they've all been edited along with a real old video to make the whole thing look like an actual blast. It did not happen. And here's another video. This one is from India. It shows Randhir Jaiswal, the spokesperson of India's External Affairs Ministry. This video shows him issuing a threat to Iran. Listen to this first.
We've heard of conflicting reports. India completely and unequivocally stands with Israel in this war. I believe Prime Minister Modi has made this clear multiple times, so there should not be any doubts. We have heard of conflicting reports which claim that Iran has targeted some commercial ships coming towards India. As far as our position is concerned, there should be no doubt that India will first confirm that Iran is involved in doing such attacks. And if confirmed, Iran will get a reply harsher than Pakistan. India does not endorse terrorism, and Iran will not be spared for any act of aggression towards India. I hope this answers your query.
Again, this is not real. This is a deep fake. It never happened. And the External Affairs Ministry of India has also clarified this.
That we have a large diaspora in the GCC countries, numbering around 10 million or a crore. The welfare of our diaspora is of utmost priority, high priority and importance to us. You would have seen, we have put out statements where a Prime Minister has spoken to several leaders in the region, including leaders from UAE, Qatar, Saudi Arabia, Oman, Bahrain, Kuwait, Jordan, and Israel. External Affairs Minister has also been in regular touch with his counterparts in these countries, as also Iran.
Another video shows a massive fire in New Delhi. This is at an India-Israeli defense facility. The post says multiple Indian and Israeli workers were killed. It triggered a major security alert in the capital. Needless to say, it was fake. Well, there are many such videos doing the rounds. One viral clip shows Iranian missiles smashing into Tel Aviv. Another video shows panicked passengers running through an airport after an attack. A third claims that American special forces have been captured. There are clips showing a US military convoy moving inside Iran and a downed American fighter jet being paraded through Tehran. We told you about all of this yesterday. These videos are all over social media. And it's not just videos, by the way. Even satellite images are being faked now, like this one. It claims to show a US naval base in Bahrain. It shows massive damage at the base. This image has been widely circulated. It has been shared. It looks convincing. It shows destroyed buildings and smoke rising from the base. But analysts have pointed to something quite strange. The vehicles parked outside these buildings, they are in the exact same position as in another photo. And this other photo, also a satellite photo, was taken last year, meaning the new image was generated using old data with the help of AI. So the question is obvious. Why are so many fake videos being created? For several reasons. The first, of course, is propaganda. Some accounts use fake videos to push political narratives or even exaggerate battlefield success. The second reason is attention. Shocking war footage spreads faster than almost anything else online. And the third reason is money. Platforms like X actually pay creators when their posts generate huge engagement. Experts say creators can earn $8 to $12 per million views. To qualify, they need millions of impressions, which means if a fake war video goes viral, it can literally become a money machine. So what can ordinary viewers do? Experts say the simplest rule is this: during a war, do not treat social media like a news source. Pause before sharing dramatic footage. Look for confirmation. Check whether credible journalists or fact checkers have verified it because, and I'm happy to repeat this every day, not everything you see is real. Iran knows it cannot win a direct war, so the regime's goal is to raise the stakes, to make sure the whole world is feeling the pain. Enter commercial ships. These are the crucial cogs that keep our economy afloat. Oil, vehicles, electronics, you name it, everything is ferried on massive commercial ships all over the world. And right now, Iran is attacking them. Around 19 ships have been targeted so far. The latest strikes happened overnight. Iranian drones hit 2 oil tankers near Iraq. One of them exploded into a massive fireball.
انهدام نفتکش امریکایی در محدوده شمال خلیج فارس. درود بر جمهوری اسلامی ایران. رزمندگان نیروی دریایی سپاه پاسدار.
خطوط حاصره. طبعا هذا نسبيتين مو وحده ولد.
Now let's map out these attacks. The strikes are not limited to the Strait of Hormuz. They're being carried out in the Persian Gulf and the Gulf of Oman. We'll start with the Persian Gulf. Like I said, 2 tankers were hit overnight. One was the Safe Sea Vishnu. It is owned by the US and flagged in Marshall Islands. The other was Zephyr Rose, flagged in Malta. The first attack killed 1 Indian sailor on board. The surviving sailors have been evacuated to land. A third ship was hit just north of the Jebel Ali port in Dubai. It was a container ship called Source Blessing. Maritime agencies say the crew is safe and sound. Yesterday too, 3 vessels were hit. One was a Japanese container ship owned by Mitsui. It was hit by projectiles northwest of Ras Al Khaimah in the UAE. The ship sustained minimal damage. The second attack was on a bulk carrier. This happened around 50 nautical miles north of Dubai. Again, no injuries to the crew. But the third attack was deadlier. It happened in the Strait of Hormuz. A Thai carrier named Mayuri Nari was hit by Iran. Maritime agencies say a fire broke out on board. Take a look at this. So that's 6 attacks in 24 hours. Last week, a ship was attacked off Jubail in Saudi Arabia. A tugboat was hit in the Strait of Hormuz, a container ship also in the strait, and 2 ships hit off the Fujairah port in the UAE. Just look at how expansive this map is. You've got attacks near Iraq, deep inside the Persian Gulf. You've got a cluster of strikes inside the Strait of Hormuz and even out in the Gulf of Oman. The question is, how is Iran striking these vessels? What is their plan? And what does it mean for importers like India? Iran has mainly 2 options to target commercial ships. The first is to use Shahid drones. Cargo ships do not have kinetic air defenses, so the drones can easily pick them at sea. The second option is to use sea drones, basically unmanned boats loaded with explosives. Iran is said to have more than 1,500 of these attack boats. They simply crash into the vessels and explode. It's low cost, but quite effective. Now we come to the second question. What is Iran's endgame? What do they hope to achieve? Increase oil prices as much as they can and pile up the pressure on US partners. Basically, force them to lobby Trump for a ceasefire. Which brings us to the final question. What does this mean for countries like India? Well, first, some numbers. There are 28 Indian-flagged ships in the Persian Gulf. 24 of them are located west of the Strait of Hormuz. There are 677 Indian sailors on these ships. The remaining 4 vessels are to the east of the strait. There are 101 Indian sailors on these ships. Right now, their security is a key concern for India. So far, Indian-flagged vessels have not been hit, but foreign vessels with Indian sailors have been struck. As of now, 4 sailors have been injured, 3 sailors have been killed, and 1 remains missing. India will be looking to escape this Hormuz choke. Some Indian sources say that Iran has agreed to exempt Indian-flagged ships, but Iranian sources have rejected that claim. India's Foreign Ministry was asked about this exemption. Listen to their response.
External Affairs Minister and Foreign Minister of Iran have had 3 conversations in the recent days. The last one discussed issues pertaining to safety of shipping and India's energy security. Beyond that, it would be premature for me to say anything.
So no official confirmation yet, but there is a silver lining. 2 oil containers from the Persian Gulf reached India yesterday. One was a Liberia-flagged ship. It was carrying 1 million barrels of Saudi crude. The other was an Indian-flagged ship. It had around 2 million barrels of Iraqi crude. Both these ships sailed through the Strait of Hormuz in the last 5 or 6 days. It's not clear if they got permission or they simply sailed through. Either way, here's the bottom line. These Iranian attacks will not magically stop. If the regime gets more desperate, they will escalate. The attacks will escalate. More attack boat strikes, more drone hits, maybe even undersea mines. Only a permanent peace deal can secure these straits. Now let's look at the economic fallout. Oil is back at $100 per barrel. Currencies are crashing and trading screens are a sea of red. We'll start with India's benchmark indices. They fell once again today. That's the Sensex and the Nifty. Sensex was down by more than 800 points. So far, investors in Indian markets have lost a whopping 22 lakh crore rupees due to this conflict. 22 lakh crores, that's more than $200 billion lost. And the Indian rupee is struggling. It hit a new record low today. At its worst point, $1 was worth 92.35 Indian rupees. The currency did recover slightly later, possibly because of an intervention by the RBI, the Reserve Bank of India, which is India's central bank. But the larger direction is quite troubling. A weaker rupee makes imports even more expensive. The biggest worry right now would be the price of oil. Like I said, Brent crude is trading at around $100 per barrel. The price surged by 9% in a day. And this came after a big decision from the IEA, the International Energy Agency. We've told you about this. The IEA coordinates the energy policy of leading economies. Yesterday, it intervened to stabilize oil prices. It announced the release of its strategic oil reserves. These are basically emergency reserves. The IEA said they would release it. They would release 300 to 400 million barrels of oil. It's their biggest release in history. And the IEA insists that this move has had a strong impact.
Yesterday, yes, we did release 400 million barrels of oil to the markets, aiming to stabilize the oil markets, and we see a strong impact of it.
But the markets barely moved because investors are asking a different question. They don't want to know how much oil is available. They want to know how much oil can actually reach consumers. And right now, no one has an answer to that question because the supply routes are still shut. Today, Iran issued fresh threats. The statement came from the IRGC, the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps. They said they won't allow even 1 liter of oil to pass through the Strait of Hormuz. That's bad news for the whole world, but especially for energy importing countries like India. This disruption will test India's fundamentals, like inflation. And we have the latest inflation numbers. These are for the month of February. The war had not begun then, but the tensions were building up. Last month, inflation in India was at 3.21%. In January, it was at 2.74%. The RBI's threshold is 4%, so at 3.21%, it is still within the RBI's limits, but if it continues to grow, it will be a problem. To control rising prices, the RBI may have to raise interest rates, but that will make loans expensive, and it will slow down the economy. And a slowdown is the last thing that India needs right now. Here is what economists are worried about. India is an import-dependent economy. Higher oil means higher fuel costs. Higher fuel costs push up transport costs. Higher transport costs push up the prices of food, goods, basically everything. Of course, this pain is not limited to India. Leading global markets are all bleeding. Australia's benchmark index fell by 1.31%. Japan's Nikkei fell by 1%. South Korea's Kospi declined. Hong Kong's Hang Seng slipped. European stocks opened lower, though they recovered later in the day. And American stocks are down. Dow Jones, S&P 500, Nasdaq, they've all taken a hit. This is a synchronized global sell-off. Not one country, not one index. Every major market is moving in the same direction. Investors want to know when this war will end, because the longer it drags on, the more it will bleed the global economy. Our next story is about Iran's new supreme leader. His name is Mojtaba Khamenei. We've told you about him on the show earlier. He's the son of former supreme leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei. He was appointed as the leader earlier this week, but in the days since, Mojtaba Khamenei has not been seen in public. Although a while back, he did give his first message, but that message was read by an anchor on television. Mojtaba did not deliver it himself. This is because he has sustained injuries. That's what reports say. He's been injured. Injuries caused by strikes that killed his father. But how serious are those injuries? And where is Mojtaba Khamenei now? Our next report explores.
Iran has a new supreme leader, but for nearly 4 days he has not been seen. No speech, no appearance. Mojtaba Khamenei, the man now leading the Islamic Republic, has vanished from public view. He is the son of Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, Iran's former supreme leader. Ali Khamenei was killed in the opening wave of U.S. and Israeli strikes on February 28th. And Mojtaba was elevated to power in the middle of a war. But the question many are now asking is simple: where is he? Now, Iran's new leader has finally issued his first message. In the message, he vowed to avenge those killed in the war and called on Iran's neighbors to shut down U.S. military bases. Mojtaba also called for the Strait of Hormuz to remain closed. But his message came with a striking detail. He himself did not deliver it. The statement was read on state television by a news anchor. But why is that so? The answer lies in the strikes that killed his father. Iranian officials say Mojtaba Khamenei was also inside the compound when the airstrike hit. He survived the strike, but several members of his family, including his mother and wife, did not. According to officials, the 56-year-old cleric suffered injuries to his legs. Other reports say his foot has been fractured. There are also mentions of facial injuries.
He was also there, and he was injured in that bombardment, but I haven't seen that reflected in the foreign news. I have heard that he was injured in his legs and hand and arm.
Yet Iranian authorities insist none of this is serious. One official described him as lightly injured and continuing to operate. But despite the uncertainty, the regime is moving quickly to project stability. Tehran has described the new leader as a wounded veteran of what officials call the Ramadan War. Pro-government supporters have gathered across several cities to pledge allegiance to the new leader.
Today we are here to pledge to Grand Ayatollah Mojtaba Khamenei that we will sacrifice our blood to the leadership. We also want to tell the criminal America not to interfere in the affairs of Iran and the region.
Large banners and murals of Mojtaba Khamenei have also appeared across Tehran. For the Iranian leadership, the message is clear. Power has changed hands, and the system continues to function. But the show of support is not universal. In recent days, some residents in Tehran have shouted slogans against the new supreme leader. Cries of "death to Mojtaba" have been reported in parts of the capital. That kind of opposition creates another problem: security. Mojtaba Khamenei has instantly become one of the most prominent targets in the war. He is reportedly in hiding at a secure and undisclosed location. Experts say the risk of assassination means he could remain hidden for some time, and that matters because of the position he now holds. Iran's supreme leader is appointed for life. The role also carries religious authority over Shia Muslims worldwide. For years, Mojtaba Khamenei operated largely behind the scenes. He rarely appeared in public. But he built close ties with Iran's clerical establishment and the powerful Revolutionary Guards. Those connections are widely believed to have helped secure his rise to power. Now he leads Iran during one of its biggest crises. Injured, heavily protected, and invisible to the world he now commands.
Can you really be in a situationship with a war? Apparently, yes. And it seems like Donald Trump is in one right now. One day he says the war is won. The next day he says it's not won enough. Then he declares that the United States has already won in Iran. But he also says the United States is still there.
And as we take decisive action to stop the threat posed by the terrorist regime in Iran with Operation Epic Fury. Is that a great name? Well, it's only good if you win. You know, you can only do. And we've won. Let me tell you, we've won. You know, you never like to say too early you won. We won. We won the bet. In the first hour, it was over.
Talk about mixed signals. The question obviously is simple. If you have won, why are you still at war? And the answer from Washington is basically this. We won, but we want to finish this. Because apparently this war is like a Netflix series. You can't just stop after one episode. You have to finish the season.
We don't want to leave early, do we? We got to finish the job, right? Over the past 11 days, our military has virtually destroyed Iran. Tough country. Their air force is gone, totally gone. That took the better part of about 3 hours. They no longer have radar. They don't have anti-aircraft equipment. They don't have anything.
And when does the US actually plan on leaving? Well, Donald Trump does not have one answer for this. Once he said the US is ahead of schedule. Then he said this is nearly over. And now he says the war is won. But the US will decide when to stop.
And we could do a lot worse. We're leaving certain things that if we take them out, or we could take them out by this afternoon, in fact, within an hour, they literally would never be able to build that country back.
And we did a little excursion. We had to take this little few weeks of excursion, but it's been incredible. Our military is unbelievable, the job they're doing. I would say, to put it mildly, way ahead of schedule.
I think we're in very good shape. The main thing is we have to win this thing, win it quickly, but win it. And there are many people, I'm just watching some of the news, most people say it's already been won. It's just a question of when. When do we stop? We don't want to let it regrow.
The same question, but three different answers. That's Donald Trump for you. There's no question he doesn't have an answer for, but his answers are, as usual, not making sense, especially as Israel is saying something very, very different. Listen to this.
As an army, we still have a broad range of targets in Iran. We will expand our operations. The goal is to undermine the foundations of this regime, the terror regime, and we continue to harm it. It is already undermined, and we continue to harm it. We have another long plan.
So Trump says the war is nearly over. Israel says they still have a long way to go. And stuck in between is the Pentagon. That's the U.S. Defense Ministry. In the first 6 days of the war, the U.S. spent around $11.3 billion. In 6 days, $11.3 billion. In fact, in the first 2 days, they spent around $5.6 billion in munitions. Some estimates suggest the spending per day is over $1 billion. Missiles, drones, airstrikes, carrier groups, all of it adds up. 7 U.S. soldiers have been killed so far. More than 140 of them are injured. Yet what is it really changing? Because if you look at the bigger picture, this war was supposed to achieve one thing, and that was regime change in Iran. That has not happened. The government in Iran is still standing strong. The regime has not collapsed. There are no signs of internal revolt, no military coup, no mass uprising. In fact, after the killing of Ayatollah Khamenei, the system did exactly what it was built to do. It replaced him. The new supreme leader, his son, Mojtaba Khamenei, took over, and the message from Tehran was simple: this regime is not falling. More importantly, Iran is still fighting. Missiles are still being fired, drones are still being launched, shipping in the Strait of Hormuz is still under threat. The war, despite all the claims of victory, is very much alive. So this brings us back to the original question: what exactly did Donald Trump achieve here? Did the war destroy Iran's government? No. Did it force regime change? No. Did it stop Iran from fighting back? Certainly not. And that makes the claim of a total victory a little hard to sell. Plus, there's another problem, one that could become a major political headache in Washington. In the first week of the war, strikes hit a school in the city of Minab. More than 150 schoolgirls were killed. The US initially said it was an Iranian strike. Trump himself said that. The Pentagon then said that they were investigating, and now reports suggest a preliminary inquiry has been done. And here's what it says: it was probably a US strike. That the US might have struck the school because they used old data that said that this was part of an Iranian naval base. The details are still being verified, but if confirmed, it could quickly turn into a propaganda win for Tehran, and right now, Trump has no answer for it.
As Commander-in-Chief, do you...
For what?
For the strike on the school in Iran. A new report says the military investigation has found it was the United States that struck the school.
I don't know about it.
Civilian casualties in war are always controversial, but when the target is a school, the global reaction can change fast. And that is the danger of wars that start with big promises. They can often end with unclear results. Washington needs to answer one thing: if the war is already won, why does it still look like a war? And if the war is not over, then this is not a victory yet. This is just another chapter in a very expensive and uncertain conflict. Our next story is about a new question from this war. Iran has fired hundreds of missiles since the conflict began, but experts say something has changed. Some of these strikes appear to be more precise than before. Targets are being hit with greater accuracy. So what is making this difference? Experts believe the answer may be in space. They suspect Iran could be using China's satellite navigation system. It's called Beidou. It's China's alternative to America's GPS. Iran, of course, has not confirmed it, but if true, it could signal a major shift in how modern wars are fought. Here's a report.
Missiles have been flying across West Asia for days now. Cities have been struck. Air defenses have been tested. But something about Iran's attacks has caught the attention of military experts. The missiles appear more precise than before. Targets are being hit with greater accuracy than many anticipated. And that has prompted a question. Not just about how many missiles Iran has, but how they are being guided. Some experts believe the answer could lie thousands of kilometers above the Earth, in space. Specifically, in China's satellite navigation network known as Beidou. The Beidou navigation satellite system is China's alternative to the American Global Positioning System, or GPS. China formally launched the latest generation of the system in 2020. President Xi Jinping personally inaugurated it in Beijing. But the origins of the project go back decades. In 1996, during the Taiwan Strait crisis, China realized something worrying. If a conflict ever broke out with the United States, Washington could restrict Beijing's access to GPS. So Beijing began building its own satellite navigation system. Today, Beidou operates with reportedly around 45 satellites. That is more than the American GPS constellation. Like GPS, it works by sending signals from satellites orbiting the Earth. Those signals allow a receiver to calculate its exact position. Satellite guidance can significantly improve missile accuracy. It helps correct small navigation errors while a missile is in flight. That, some analysts argue, could explain the precision seen in Iran's recent strikes. Tehran itself has not confirmed using Beidou. Officials say the country does not rely on a single source of technology. But analysts say cooperation between Iran and China on satellite technology may go back years. The two countries deepened their strategic partnership in 2021, and researchers say Iran has gradually expanded the use of Chinese navigation systems. But at the same time, the war has placed Chinese military technology under broader scrutiny. Iran acquired China's HQ-9B air defense system in 2025 to strengthen its defenses after earlier strikes on its territory. Yet, the US and Israeli strikes were still able to hit targets inside Iran. That has raised serious doubts about the effectiveness of Chinese military technology in real combat. Still, the debate over Beidou highlights a bigger shift. Satellite navigation has become one of the most important tools in modern warfare. For years, that technology was dominated by American GPS. But systems like China's Beidou are now challenging that dominance. Whether Iran is actually using it remains unclear. But the speculation itself reveals something important. In modern war, the battle for precision may now be fought in space as much as on the battlefield.
Our final story tonight is about another conflict, the conflict between Pakistan and Afghanistan. Tensions have been flaring up along their border again. In recent days, heavy gunfire and artillery shelling have been reported across their border. The Taliban says at least 7 civilians have been killed this week. And what is Islamabad saying? As usual, they're denying targeting civilians. Now, to give you some context, the latest confrontation began just days before the West Asia war, but the tensions between the two sides show no sign of easing. Our next report has more.
Along the rugged mountains that divide Pakistan and Afghanistan, the guns have been firing again. For days now, artillery fire and mortar shells have echoed across villages along the frontier. And the violence is beginning to claim civilian lives. The latest incident happened early on Thursday. Taliban authorities say Pakistani artillery struck a village in eastern Afghanistan. 4 members of the same nomad family were killed. 3 other children were also injured. Officials in Kabul say at least 7 civilians have been killed in Afghanistan since Tuesday, as the cross-border clashes intensified. Pakistan says it does not target civilians. It insists its operations are aimed at militant threats. But Pakistan has a long record of such denials, even as civilian casualties mount. The current confrontation began late last month. In February, Pakistan carried out airstrikes inside Afghanistan. Islamabad said it was targeting the Tehrik-e-Taliban Pakistan, or TTP. The group has carried out a series of deadly attacks inside Pakistan. The Taliban government denies giving the group safe haven. Kabul says terrorism inside Pakistan is an internal issue. The crisis escalated rapidly. Kabul launched retaliatory attacks on Pakistan. Islamabad then declared what it called an open war against the Taliban authorities. More strikes followed, including attacks on Afghanistan's capital, Kabul. Both sides have since claimed heavy losses on the other, but many of those battlefield claims remain difficult to verify independently. Now, the fighting appears to be shifting. In recent days, no new Pakistani airstrikes have been reported, but the conflict has not ended. Clashes are still being reported across the long and volatile border. Have also been spotted overhead. As the fighting continues, diplomacy is slowly stepping in. China has reportedly begun mediating between the two sides. Pakistani officials say Beijing urged both countries to reduce hostilities. China's special envoy for Afghanistan has also been traveling between Kabul and Islamabad. Beijing says the priority is to stop the fighting from expanding and bring both sides back to talks. But previous attempts have failed. In October last year, Qatar and Turkey helped broker a ceasefire after deadly border clashes. That truce did not hold. Both sides soon accused each other of violating the agreement, and tensions gradually returned. The latest confrontation has also triggered a diplomatic exchange beyond the border. In typical Islamabad style, Pakistan accused India of supporting Afghanistan in attacks against it. New Delhi has firmly rejected the allegations on Thursday, calling it baseless, and called out Islamabad for deflecting from its own military failures. And those failures are plain to see. Pakistan launched these strikes with a clear objective. That objective remains unmet. The TTP is still standing, and for Islamabad, there is no clear way out.
Iran has been bombing the Gulf countries relentlessly. Qatar, the UAE and Bahrain have been the hardest hit. Meanwhile, Saudi Arabia has only been attacked sporadically. For most people, it's obvious why. Saudi Arabia is a much larger country. It's also the spiritual and political leader of the Muslim world. But Pakistan has a different theory. Their foreign minister says Riyadh has been spared because of them. You see, Pakistan and Saudi Arabia have a mutual defense treaty. If one country is attacked, both must hit back together. Pakistan's foreign minister claims this treaty is why Saudi Arabia has been spared. Listen to this.
हम सऊदी अरेबिया के साथ एक स्ट्रेटेजिक म्यूचुअल डिफेंस एग्रीमेंट कर चुके हैं. सारी दुनिया को उसका पता है. इट्स अ सॉवरेन एग्रीमेंट. वी आर बाउंड बाय दैट. मैंने उसको मद्देनजर रखते हुए सऊदी अरेबिया से फौरी सेंसिटाइज किया अपने भाइयों को जो लीडरशिप में है ईरान में कि प्लीज कीप दैट इन माइंड. हमने देखा कि गालबन जो मिनिमम इस वक्त जो आपस में कुछ रिएक्शन है वो सऊदी अरेबिया और ओमान के खिलाफ नहीं हुआ. बाकी जॉर्डन है, कुवैत है, यूएई है, कतर है, बहरीन है, वो सब पे यानी एक्टिविटी है. बट एज ए सेड कि वो सॉवरेन मुल्क है. हम सऊदी अरेबिया के साथ एक स्ट्रेटेजिक म्यूचुअल डिफेंस एग्रीमेंट कर चुके हैं. सऊदी अरेबिया से फौरी सेंसिटाइज किया अपने भाइयों को जो लीडरशिप में है ईरान में कि प्लीज कीप दैट इन माइंड.
And now it's time for Vantage Shots, images that tell the story. North Korea's Kim Jong-un test fires a handgun with his daughter during a factory visit. Colorful wildflowers brighten California's Death Valley, and a Mexico zoo welcomes 2 African leopard cubs. Finally, we are taking you back in history on this day in 1930. Mahatma Gandhi started the Dandi March. He walked from Sabarmati Ashram to the town of Dandi for 24 days. Gandhi and his followers defied the British salt laws by producing salt from the sea. It was part of Gandhi's civil disobedience movement. We're leaving you on that note. Thank you for watching. We'll see you tomorrow.
The world doesn't fit in boxes, so why should your news? From battlefields to negotiation tables, from internet outrage to real-world injustice. The conversations everyone is having and the ones they're avoiding. It's the same show, but this new year, Firstpost America gets a new look. I'm Kerry Johnston, and this is Firstpost America.
Want the facts?
The latest developments?
News that gets straight to the point.
Well, we've got all three just for you. This is Firstpost Live, a brand new show, your window into what really matters.
Don't miss it.